So now let's talk about some of the strategies you can use for testing your serverless applications. Anytime that we talk about testing software systems, it's important to think about the hierarchy of different types of tests that are required. So first of all, you're going to want the ability to run tests locally within your own development environment. You also want to have remote integration tests that can be run against that sandbox account that we talked about previously. And then finally, having an automated pipeline that's running integration and acceptance tests against these other various environments that provide a gate for doing production deployments. So let's first talk about local testing strategies. One of the core components of a good local testing strategy is having automated unit tests. Now, if we go back to the original diagram that we talked about when discussing how to write code for Lambda, we talked about making sure that you isolate the business logic of your application from the rest of the components that are interacting with the external environment. This makes it really easy to write unit tests that don't require all of the additional infrastructure that Lambda provides. So if you separate out your business logic into separate controller classes, you can now write automated tests against that interface without needing to bootstrap the entire Lambda runtime. Now, anytime we talk about unit testing, you're going to need a strategy for how to mock out the external services that your function is talking to in order to isolate it and be able to run a local version of that test effectively. Now, there are a couple of options when it comes to how you can mock within a serverless environment. First of all, there are projects such as DynamoDB Local and Local Stack that you can use to emulate these types of external services and other AWS APIs locally on your own box without needing any internet connectivity. Additionally, you can build out custom mocks, and we have several customers that do this. This is a fairly expensive route to go and requires a lot of development effort on your part in order to build these custom mocking solutions, but it does allow you to effectively test how Lambda functions chain together through multiple services. So if you have one Lambda function that creates an object in S3, for example, and that object creation then triggers another function downstream, testing that interaction between those two functions can be a little bit challenging when trying to do that locally. Creating a custom mocking framework allows you to stitch those different functions together and see how your system behaves in its entirety. The last option is don't mock. When developing applications in a cloud environment, it's okay if you require an internet connection for developers to do their work. Typically speaking, developers are not going to be terribly effective if they don't have access to all of the other resources that are available on the internet anyway. So oftentimes customers find that it's very effective to write automated tests against a real version of DynamoDB or other AWS services and just have their local versions of the functions that are running in their development environments hit the cloud resources that they normally would in production.